Long-time duck hunter, first-time caller.
If you are woke or DEI, I suggest you check out.
Here they come.
Okay, hold up. They're coming around the front.
You ready?
Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. All right, they're coming around. One more swing. This is going to be it. When they put their feet down, everybody get ready. I'm your host, Rick Schmidt.
I'm your host, Jeff Sukup.
Welcome to Generations Waterfowl. All right, cut them. Let's sit down.
Bud, you're on.
All right, good evening. We're back at the 6 Mile Slough Outdoors. I'm your host, Rick Schmidt, with Dave Malone, Jeff Sukup. This is the Generations Waterfowl podcast coming at you from Smithton, Illinois. We have a very special guest remotely tonight, Chris Akin with Web-Footed Kennels. Chris, welcome to our podcast, sir.
Thanks, sir.
So, Chris, you've got quite a bit of accolades behind you. I think most of our viewership is going to know who you are. The SBN Outdoor Games, SRS Series. You've done a series of a lot of hunt tests, a lot of field trials. How many dogs overall do you think you've trained through your career, sir?
I would say between 4,000 and 5,000 total.
4,000 and 5,000. That's 4,000 retrievers like we deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah. Wow.
So that guy loves to talk to dogs. There's no doubt about it. So a little bit quick introduction here as to how Chris and I met. Chris might not remember this. He may. I don't know. I had bought dogs all over the country and different experiences with who I bought them from. And I was looking for a new dog, and somebody I hunt with said, you ought to call this guy. He's pretty famous. And I said, well, I don't know if he'd take my call. And I called his phone, and sure as shit, he picked the phone up, and he was there. And Chris, you talked to me very gentlemanly. You spoke to me very professionally. You gave me your advice, and you said, we can find a dog for you, and we'll come up with one that fits your style. So he called me back a day later, and he says, I think I got the dog just for you, but he's a little bit of a beast, and he's a little bit high drive. And I said, well, what is high drive? And he said, well, some guys like high drive and some don't. And I'm a high drive guy. You guys are with me. I like dogs that have got a lot of get up and go, right?
Absolutely.
So I bought this dog from Chris named Rowdy, and Chris might remember it. I don't know, it's been a while. I actually looked it up. It's been over 10 years, can you believe that? So I got this dog. I got it from Chris, and Chris did the duty, as you'd expect, to show me how to handle the dog and to deal with him and the higher drive dog. And I kind of felt special when I was dealing with Chris. Like, okay, this mattered. This isn't like the other guys that have sold me a dog. It matters to him how I feel about this dog and how I work with this dog. And I had that dog 4 years, and he had an accident, which unfortunately took his life. But I called you back up after that, and I said, I need some help. I got me a problem here. I lost my dog. And you and Brett said, we'll get you another dog. And sure enough, a couple of days later, they called up again, did the same thing with my new dog, Champ, who now is 8, by the way. And I got to spend time with you guys, and I got to understand your program, and I got to understand you as a person, and the care and the love you put into what you do as a job. And it's clearly more than a job to you. I can tell every time I come down to visit with you. And tonight I just want to talk a little bit about a few things that you guys do as trainers, professional trainers. If you wouldn't mind, Chris, just could you give us an elevator speech on your credentials and what you've been up to, man?
Well, the credentials, I think, are can be kind of odd depending on what you're into, but I'm into duck hunting. I love to duck hunt, and I can't think about anything else during that time of the year except ducking. So I think my biggest accolade is me training 4,000 to 5,000 retrievers that go out and help us find ducks and let us shoot our limit and retrieve our limit and put them on the strap. And I think that's the most important thing, along with these same dogs. Or I see pictures of them in Christmas pictures and family vacation and graduation pictures and on the couch and in the bed and definitely in the duck blind. And man, that means more to me than anything. I'm a dog guy. A lot of dog trainers that train dogs don't really like dogs with them 24/7. I've got 3 laying here at my feet right now in my house, and they're with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm a dog. I like a pet. I like a companion, and I like a serious duck dog. So, I've run all the hunt test deals. We've taught hundreds and hundreds of dogs. We run just dang near every weekend in the spring and fall. We've done everything from HRC. I think we've titled 760 something hunt retriever champions, almost 90 grand champions, which is more than anybody else in the business for sure. I think we've got over 300 master hunters, which is unbelievable, really. Even when I think about it, we've passed tons of dogs from master nationals. We've got field trials. We've got several qualified all-age dogs. Scott Harp, he does other field trial stuff. He's done that all his life. I think he's got 38 open wins. No telling how many qualified all-age dogs. I mean, he's the man when it comes to white field trials. And then, I ran the Super Retriever Series. We won Super Retriever Series. We won the Crown Championship in 2003. And actually in 2003, it was called the Great Outdoor Games. But kind of a cool deal with ESPN. We won that, and as we've dabbled in all of it and do all of it, but it all circles back to what we do in a duck blind and what we do as a family pet and companion dog.
Well, that's pretty much why I wanted to talk to you tonight on the podcast, because you've got a lot of different clients. You've got hunt test clients, you've got meat hunter clients, you've got field trial clients, you've got specialty clients. But when I go down to your place and I see the love that gets put into them dogs, I'm amazed every time that you train one that you can actually let it go to a client when you're done with it, because it's almost as if it's like one of your children when I see it.
We do enjoy a lot of them, that's for sure. We miss them when they're not here, but I tell you, I just love knowing they're on somebody's couch and in somebody's office and in somebody's duck blind, so it makes it all worth it.
Well, we put them to work as soon as we get them home from you. They go to work and, we do our thing. So, there's a little bit of magic in what you do with your facility. I've seen your facility. It's immaculate. It's huge. It's impressive. It's how you treat every single dog. Not one dog is different when I'm there. They all get the same equal love and treatment in that facility. And I'm assuming that's something that you built over time. Is that correct?
Our place is all about the staff. There's 9 of us, and everybody's got their own special place. And, with the trainers, between Philip and Scott and myself, I mean, it's a great team, and we're super proud of what we have and the talents that we have and the work ethic that we have. You take Scott and Philip; those are the 2 hardest working guys on the planet. If anybody's a weak link here, it's me. But those guys outwork me. They run me in the ground. They crank it out and they get a lot done. They don't have the distractions that I have with the phone and the people and running the business and all that, so they can get a lot done, and they do a great job. They're without a doubt, there's no doubt about it. I've been around everybody and trained with everybody, and they're the best of the best, and they demand everybody else around them to be that way too, including myself. But all our guys, I mean, I've had bird boys. I've got the same bird boys, and I've had, like, the guy throws for me every day. He's been with me 25 years. And these guys all know what, when, and how, and they know what their job is. And they all have really good eyes to catch anything with the health of the dogs and make sure that everybody stays where they're supposed to as far as the dog's health and all that. That's a huge deal in our business, is being able to spot problems and head problems all for the future, whether it be a skin problem, whether it be a hip problem, ACLs, whether it be a respiratory problem. There's so many. I got dogs here from California to Florida. These dogs are coming in and they're bringing all the bad stuff from their area to us, kind of like a daycare. Everybody's put in one building. It can present its fair share of problems, but with the staff I've got, and these guys are part veterinarian, they nip it in the bud and keep it to a bare minimum. So, man, I'm proud to have those guys on my team and do what they do.
Well, I've got the chance to meet them and see your facility, and it's impressive is the only word I have. It's just impressive. I mean, I'm blown away every time I visit there. And you talk about something else that I want to add to this tonight that you taught me a little bit about. You may not even know you taught me about it. These dogs are athletes in your eyes. They're an athlete. And you're working them like an athlete, and you're treating them like an athlete, and you're caring for them like an athlete. And I've passed that down to my friends and business partners that these dogs that come out of your kennels they're true athletes. And, I should be treating them like an athlete. I should be feeding them like an athlete. I should be hydrating them like an athlete. And I should be training with them like an athlete. And, they're more than dogs. They're true athletes from what I've seen come out of your kennel.
Well, these dogs are mentally and physically stressed to the fullest. I mean, they really are. I mean, number one, they're away from home. They're not laying on a cedar posturepedic bed or a rug or a tile floor or hardwood floors. They're on concrete and chain link. I mean, it's military style for sure. And these dogs are expected to do a lot. We have a short amount of time to get a lot of results. We get paid by the month. We like to show results each and every month with every dog. physically these dogs are up and down hills, and big swims, and then the challenges we put in front of them, and with all the different types of training, and that it's really a mental stress. We've got to know these dogs are athletes. There's no doubt about it. It may be more mental than even it is physically. That's what we're looking for, is a dog that's mentally stronger than he probably is physically. Man, we ask a lot out of these dogs, and these dogs have to love it. And you talk about the dogs you've had. Rowdy, he loved it too much. He wasn't for everybody, that's for sure. That he had issues. He
had issues.
He had issues. He loved it as much as I do. That he liked to go get him as much as I like to kill him. Let me put it that way. And me and him were a good team, just like you and him were. But I'll tell you, the deal is, you've got to understand the physical or the mental aspects that these dogs are put through in training. And we're always leaning on them. We're always pushing on them. And sure, we tell them how good they are, and we tell them how great they are, and we give them some love, and boy, they really respond to all that. But at the end of the day, they're the ones carrying that load. And so, we've got to take care of them. You talk about the hydration. Here we are, 95 degrees today, very low winds, very high humidity. We got to make sure these dogs, stay hydrated up, and we got to be sure that, they can cool down and catch your breath again and do all that. We definitely feed the best nutrition. We feed Eukanuba 30-20. I fed them all, and I'm not here to give a big sales pitch on dog food. I'm just telling you, I've done it, been there. I've gone through all of them. Let me save you some time. Let me save you some energy. 30-20 Zit, Eukanuba. It's the only dog food out there that's worthy of putting the kind of dogs that you want to have as your family pet and your duck dog. That's the only food you want to feed the dog. I've fed them all, and some of them, some of these big national brands that everybody thinks are so great, man, you get to see what I've seen with them, and they're just complete junk. But Eukanuba's not that way. I tell you, I've been feeding it now for a long time, and I don't care. I'll feed it till I die. I'm a big fan of it. I've had great results with it, and I've been feeding it long enough. And if they were going to have a problem, we'd have had it, and we haven't. So I'm dead set on it. It's very expensive, and I tell you, it's like anything else. It's good. Get what you pay for. It's well worth it.
Well, I got the chance to spend some time with the Eukanuba people last fall down in Louisiana, their big vendor show. Yeah. I got a big education on the different types of food and when to give and how much to give. And the scientists spoke to me a little bit. It really opened my eyes, understanding the diet and the nutrition these dogs go through, the stress they go through physically, whether it's summer or fall or winter. And, I got a good lecture, which felt good. I walked away, felt educated.
Well, everybody gets so twisted up about the price tag of everything, and I get it. I get that way too. I was feeding another brand of dog food that a lot of people feed, and my guy that's been with me for so long, he came to me one morning at before daylight. I'm sitting in the office doing some entries for a HUD test, and this guy come to me. He said, "Do you know we're feeding 22 dogs double, 4 cups in the morning, 4 cups in the evenings?" I said, "I had no idea. How would I know that? You take care of all that." He said, "Well, that's why I'm coming to you." He said, that's 22 extra bags of dog food you're feeding a month out of this kennel, and those dogs are eating 2 bags a month versus everybody else eating 1. He said, "We've never done that." And he said, "And the teeth are black, the hair coat looks horrible, these dogs are all skinny." He said, "I just don't like the way their muscle tone doesn't look right. I think you need to think about switching dog foods." And then this guy's my bird guy. Now, he's my guy. He takes care of all my equipment and throws birds for me and helps mow. And he's this great guy. Just been with me a long time. He'll be with me till I die. I'm a great guy. And I said, "God, I had no idea." So I spent the next hour figuring out what dog food I was going to feed, and I took it on, and it was more expensive. Not a lot more, but a little bit more. But what I figured out was real quick that I couldn't feed as much as I was feeding of the other brand. And I only fed about 3 cups versus 4 to 6, depending on the dog, or even the ones we were double feeding, 8 a day. So about fast forward 2 or 3 months later, they had a price increase, a pretty good one too, about 15-20%. And everybody that was on it calls me up and says, "Man, I know you're going to Eukanuba. Man, they've already gone up. What are you going to do? You going to stay with them?" I said, "Look, man, I'm still paying less per month for dog food than I was a month ago, 2 months ago." And I said, "Because I'm buying so much less of it." I said, "But now I got clean teeth. I got great skin. I got great hair. I got great muscle tone. I got great dogs in training. And it seems like I got less trips to the vet. So, man, I'm money ahead. So, hey, y'all keep griping about the money. I'm going to keep doing what I do, training dogs. And I've stayed with that now for years. And so, like I say, I don't want to do a big infomercial. I just want you to know, been there, done that, tried them all. I've fed them all. I've been courted by all those companies. So I'm just going to tell you, don't waste your time buying Eukanuba 3020.
Hey, Chris, I absolutely use Eukanuba 100%. And I sure got my education from them boys. They spent some time with me talking to me about it. And that's just a lot of things I didn't think of, you know?
Yeah, that's right. She's taking, look at this right here. She's taking
Oh, look at that. Oh, man. No, I'm not buying another damn dog.
Oh, yeah, you're the easy customer.
Bud bite.
Bud might buy the dog.
That was actually sold, so you're getting a lot.
You know, in the past 15 years or whatever, I think the dog evolution's come a long, long way. And I think the trainers have brought them dogs a long, long way. But I guess, you know, does the genetics actually play a role, or the technology of the training?
It's all of it. But you know, when you think about everything's really done, we just kind of talk about the gun dogs, but you think about, I've got a 1975 model CJ5 there in the shop. It doesn't even have a radio in it. You know, it's got a gas gauge and headlights and tail lights. And that was a big deal in 1975. I've got a 79 Bronco down there with, you know, no air conditioning. It's got a radio in it. Things have got a little fancier in 4 years, and then now look what they are. You know, they got these little grocery getters running around with, you know, air conditioned heated seats and, you know, everything, all the fine leathers and everything in between. And that's kind of the way the dogs are too. It's all the training styles, the training techniques, the genetics that we train today versus what we trained back then is just unbelievable. And then the training equipment, you know, the e-collar, the understanding of how to use the e-collar, and it's just unbelievable how it's changed the evolution. I can't wait to see what the dogs are going to look like 20 years from now, because they are so dead-gum good now. You know, I've lived at the same place since 1994, and I built the first tech pond I had ever witnessed. It's a very unusual shaped pond that I've designed and built for teaching dogs different concepts in dog training. And I like I said, I'd never seen anything like it. Now, I dreamed it up with an excavator and dozer. And the blinds and the marks that I run in 1994, as soon as it got full of water, were the very, very elite dogs are the same ones I do all the baby dogs on. And I mean, it's just amazing how much difference. The blinds I run with the baby dogs, the best dogs in the state can barely do what my baby dogs do now. I mean, back then, you know what I mean? Back in the early 90s, late 80s, when I first started running hunt tests. I mean, it just evolved into such a great deal. Because let's face it, when we were in our childhood, 80s, you know, hunting in the 80s and 90s, everybody's had a meat dog. If it would go get a duck, bring it back, not eat it, you had a great duck dog. And we all called them meat dogs around here. They rode in the bed of the truck. They lived in a kennel out back. They were like an 870. It was just a tool. And now, phew, man, nobody would ever let their dog run loose in the bed of a truck going down the interstate. You know, they kennels that cost $1,000, and they're strapped down to the bottom of the floor, and they're, you know, locked up. These dogs, you know, they're cherished now compared to what they were back then, and these rated and highly well bred, and they deserve to do that. But dogs have changed. It's just a meat dog is a thing of the past. You take a dog that breaks now on the shot like they did in the 80s and early 90s not an oddity, as a regular. If that happens today, nobody wants to hunt with that dog. That dog has to be extremely steady. He has to do proficient on his hand signals. He has to do really good multiples, or nobody wants to hunt with the dog. And for good reason, because there's so many great dogs out here now. It's just unreal. Why would you want to hunt with anything less? So, I mean, you look at the shotguns. I mean, you and I shot 870s, right? I mean, that's what everybody shot. I remember we shot 870s as our starter guns, and we shot a Marlin bolt action goose gun, 36 inches, our cripple killer. You know, it was a bolt action. Now, when's the last time we've seen one of those in a blind, right? And that was a pretty common gun back then. You remember that gun? And not to mention, you know, had the variable choke tubes on the ends of them. And I mean, you know, just everything's come a long way in the duck hunting world. The technology from just everything. But the dogs have definitely come a long way. It's a shame because, you know, I see a lot of people get in the waterfowl world because of the dog. I don't see many people get into the dogs because of waterfowl, and I see more people get into waterfowl because of their dogs, especially the wives and kids. Because the wife, she may not want to see you shoot a duck or a goose, but she wants to see her baby that sleeps in the bed with her and go to the beach with her and get her kids' graduation pictures and her Christmas pictures. Go get a duck or go get a goose and see what it loves to do. She's heard about dad talk about it and whatever, and the kids, they come, they may not shoot, they may not be part of the deal, but they're going to go eat the snacks and they're going to watch Sally go get some ducks and geese. And I mean, hey, that's how you get them into it, you know. But the dogs are what's amazed me, especially in the hunt test world. A guy will show up and you can tell this guy's never killed a sparrow, you know, and he's got him a dog and he's running, running an event, and he starts talking to people about hunting, and next thing you know, he goes to some of these people, and man, next thing you know, he's buying him a boat and buying him a Ranger and getting leases or buying ground. And I mean, the dogs got him into that. It's just amazing. It really is. I've seen it all, but I've seen dogs get more people into waterfowl than I have waterfowlers get into dogs. The hunt test deal's a lot of fun. We went and ran one this last weekend. Philip and I took 26 dogs, and that event had probably, let's think about this, it had 90, had 130. It probably had 160 to 175 dogs a day in it. And so you can go around and watch all those dogs. Everybody there's got the same interest. They're all waterfowlers. They're all dog people. They all have the same common deal. They all just love to be, spend time with their dogs, and people that have like-minded thought processes, and waterfowlers just like us. A lot of those people don't even duck hunt just a whole lot, but they do, they're not as crazy about it as we are, but they do a lot of it, or some of it. But it's just a lot of fun people to hang out with and to visit with. And, if you think about dog people, man, there's very few people in the dog world that are not great people. Man, that's been one blessing I've had in my life is the people that I work for. All these different businesses, whether building houses or working on cars or selling tractors, whatever, they despise their clientele. Man, I'm so blessed in that to do what I've done for a living. There's very few people that I don't consider family to me, the people that I work for. They're all been fantastic, and they're very, very supportive because they know we all have the same goal. And everybody's just super. I hate to hear these other people in business have all these other troubles because we just don't have all that because of the clientele. But it's all because they're dog people. I mean, that's really, I'm not saying it's my clientele. They're just my clientele's dog people, and they love what they do. And then heaven forbid you want to talk about shooting something out of the air, man. Now you really got their attention. You got something to talk about, So it's an easy customer. Well, you come to my place, man. There's nobody pulls up here that, man. I mean, it's just a great group of people in the dog world for sure. There's very few people that are bad apples in this game, I tell you. The first one I ever came to, I went to one and watched in Arkansas, and I remember telling my ex-wife how crazy I was driving 45 miles to watch some dogs go pick up ducks. The next weekend, we drove to Wren Lake, Illinois, in a Ford Ranger.
Here by us. Yep.
Yeah, yep. In a Ford Ranger pickup truck, regular cab with all our gear and all our stuff, and 2 dogs, and we stayed up there all weekend. And the next weekend, I was driving even further and further because there wasn't a lot of hunt tests, and we drove all over the country every weekend with them. It was so addictive. It was just hit me by storm, and man, it ate me up, and I couldn't do anything else. His dad was there. His dad was in 1989. I'd be willing to bet you his dad was there because that was in his backyard. I met him and knew him and loved him, and then, man, he was a great guy, and he was very supportive of me all the way through. And I saw him weekend after weekend. I mean, we were together a lot. You either love it or you don't, man. I tell you, it's a growing sport. In the dog world, like the field trial deal, to me, that's what I call the white coat field trials. I think it's a dying sport, and I may get blasted for saying that, but it is. All the clientele in that is in their upper 70s, 80s. It's a very complex sport. It's first, second, or third. Everybody's against everybody, and then you fast forward, go to the hunt test world. It's kind of like taking a test at school. I mean, some get an A, some get a B, some get a C, some get a D, but we're all rooting for each other, and we don't care if everybody gets A's. And so the deal, like Philip and I went this weekend, and like I say, I think we ran 26 dogs total. We passed 25 on Saturday and 24 on Sunday. So when we came home, we called all the clients up, and There wasn't one that we bragged on any more than we did the other because they all passed. It wasn't like a first, second, third deal. So everybody goes home a winner. Everybody got a ribbon. Everybody's got points towards their name. Some of them are running for titles. Some of them are running for points to get other titles. And it's just a great experience. And so it's everybody's there rooting for each other. Nobody's hoping you crash, hit the wall, flipping the bleachers. Nobody's doing anything. So it's a great time. It's a great time.
If you recognize him.
Yeah. Woody's a legend. Woody is a definite legend for sure. Yeah. Hugh Arthur.
Al's his son.
Al's his son, dear friend of mine.
Jumping on to another subject my partners are interested in. During the summer and the fall and the winter, how you maintain that dog really matters to its health and its readiness for the fall. Is there any advice you can give the three of us to hover over these dogs and work with them through the season?
Well, if the topic is, summertime drills, summertime things we do with the dogs, the main thing we're doing in the summertime, now we're always trying to advance dogs and we're always trying to make them better as a trainer. But now we're talking about at home, the dog's already trained, the dog already has a season or two underneath his belt. Main thing we're trying to do is just maintenance that dog and make sure he doesn't get out of shape too bad. We just want to make sure he stays sharp because, dogs that aren't in shape and then we throw them out there in a hunting situation, man, they can hurt themselves really quick. And especially when, like in Arkansas, one of the first big hunts of the year is a dove hunt. It's always hot. It's always humid. You take a big, fat, lazy dog, been air conditioned all year and put him out there and now he's going to go out there and retrieve 30, 40, 50 birds. That dog can get in trouble in a hurry. That's one of the busiest days at a vet's office in Arkansas. And it's from overheating dogs and hurting dogs from dove hunts. So we need to keep that dog in shape, even if it means you going into a farm pond with a one bumper and you're just hand throwing bumpers in the water. I'm a big water guy. I believe in keeping dogs in shape. Swimming is the best thing. It's low impact. It's very easy on the dog's body. It's a real big muscle builder, and it really gets them in shape at swimming. Really gets a dog muscled up and in shape. And you got to be careful of it in the summer. And we always talk about the heat and humidity. You just a dog can't breathe when he's in the water. And like I got in today, and I jumped in our swimming pool when I got in from training, thinking I was going to cool down. And I told my wife, I said, that water's like bath water. And if a dog was working his butt off on some a lot of retrieving, it's no cooler in that water. In our mind, it is, but in reality, that water is just as warm as it is outside. And so that you've got to be careful. Feel that water when he comes in on your side. Feel that water. Make sure because that dog can't breathe when he's retrieving. So you got to watch that dog. Make sure you can't overheat a dog in the water just as well as you can on dry land. One thing I also talk about on dry land, we bush hog our place. You've never come to my place and seen it overgrown.
Nope.
We keep my guy's going to mow tomorrow. It takes 2 solid days with a big batwing mower to mow our place, and he's going to start in it in the morning and mow for 2 days. But we mow that thing about every 2 weeks, and we do that because those dogs can breathe when they're not in that heavy cover. And we let the breeze hit the side when they're running. They're not having to deal with the grass seeds. They're not having to deal with the no air. They're not having to deal with that humidity and moisture trapped in that grass like early in the mornings. It's just a lot safer situation for us with the dogs. So don't get out there and overheat these dogs. Work early in the morning before work, super late in the evenings, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, do some water work. It doesn't take, everybody thinks training, you got to have, like with us, bird boys and rangers and special farms. You don't have to have all that. You can go to a farm pond or a farm pond in your backyard or heck, the swimming pool. I mean, just whatever you can do to give that dog some good exercise. And, you can work on some steady drills or work on some doubles or hand thrown. It doesn't really matter as long as you're working that dog and keeping him off his butt, because, if not, they're going to end up having the same shape I've got, and that doesn't work out in that setting. I couldn't run around and get them. So anyway, but you got to keep them in shape. That's the main thing. I don't want to go on a big soapbox about it, but we just got to keep them in shape because, and I get it. Summertime, vacations, golf, fishing, baseball games. We got every excuse, not to go get out there and work our dog. But the times of day you need to be working that dog is usually times of day you really don't have a whole lot else going on anyway. Right at daylight and right before dark. Some exercise to keep them in shape. Well, I do change up a little bit in the fall when I explain to people what to do with their dogs. So in Arkansas, we have an early spec. And I'm not even sure how that works in other states. I'm not that big a goose hunter, so. But I already expect, so we have a lot of people that are hunting in October, and they kill a lot of birds. I mean, speckled belly haven right here where I live. I've got one farm I'll put up against anybody in the country again killing specks, and I don't even spec hunt, but we do lease out all that stuff to people. They kill the fire out of it. And but anyway, what I try to get these people to do is bring their young dogs with them on those trips. Maybe not hunt them on those 18, 20 gun, spec hunts, but in the middle of the day, all these guys go work on their pit blinds. They go work on their duck hunting stuff, I say, hey, bring that young dog out here. Let's work him in out of the pit. Let's get him riding in the Rangers back and forth from the truck to the field. Let's start getting that dog in that routine of how this is going to go. And what I mean by that, if you're out there and you're putting fast grass on your pit, or you're bailing your pit out, or you're painting inside of your pit or your blind or whatever you're doing, Ricky, let's say you and I are there together. I'm going to let you work Nick. I'm going to go out and stand in front of the blind with 3 or 4 bumpers, and I'm going to throw it out, and you're going to let Nick come blasting out of the pit, come out there and get the bumper, come back, jump down in the pit. It's kind of, we're making a routine. And that's something that we try to simulate that at the kennel. But let's face it, I can't simulate every scenario. So if you'll do it out of your blind and teach that dog where to get to, where to come to, how to get in and out of it, how to use the flip tops, how to use however you camo him in, man, it just makes so much easier on yourself on opening day. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, our blinds are big river style blinds, and we have big long ramps. Some of them we have stairs. One of the main blinds I shoot has 9 stairs from the water up to where the dog sits. 9.
Holy cow.
So it's pretty tall.
Wow.
You take a dog that's never done that, it's a train wreck. So last year I hunted a new dog all winter. He did really well. But I took him out there about 6 times prior to season and had my partner in my duck club as my bird boy, and he got out there in the boat and just flipped bumpers around out there, and I worked Sugar Ray up and down the ramp and taught him how to come in. We did multiples. We taught him how to retrieve out to the right, how to retrieve out to the left, how to make those approaches to the end of the ramp. I know all that sounds really, really elementary, especially to a guy that's got an old dog, but I didn't have an old dog. I had a 1-year-old. And so I had to educate him on all this. Well, when we did this 5 or 6 times, he did it with his dog Cash, and I did it with my dog Sugar Ray. Well, opening day, those 2 dogs acted like they'd hunted their whole life, and they hadn't, and they'd never hunted. And so just those little steps that we took. I mean, we're talking 15 minutes. 4, 5, 6 different times that we did that prior to season made such a big deal. And both of those dogs had a great duck season. I mean, big time duck season. They picked up a lot of ducks, and it was very symplectic for both of them. So I highly suggest you get as many different scenarios as you can. If you're going to hunt out of a boat, make sure that dog hunts out of a boat. If you're going to use a Ranger, Argo, however you're going to hunt, just have that dog in that setting. If you're going to be water, of course, show him, how to come back to the pit, how to come in out of the blinds. I mean, there's just so many different things you just need to educate that dog on prior to, especially going through lots of duck decoys, going through a bunch of goose decoys, all that kind of stuff.
You get them there.
And one big thing is like flooded corn. I think flooded corn may be one of the hardest settings a dog has to hunt in, because there's no way I can simulate that here at the kennel during the summer. And when you shoot a duck and it lands 30 rows back in standing corn, you can't see the dog, you can't help the dog. That dog has to go out there and turn into a vacuum cleaner and find that duck, right? And it's not a big deal on a dog that's picked up 200. But that dog has never done that. That's a big deal. And I hunted standing flooded corn last year with that little 1-year-old I was telling you about. And the first day, he did a lot more running around trying to find them than he did the second, third, fourth, and fifth hunt. He went straight to every bird. And he was really judging his depth good in that corn and really having figured out how to look up and down those rows and find those cripples. And it just did a bang-up job. So you just, if you can get out there prior to season and work him in some of that stuff in the fall, because, we got skid blinds out there. We've got pits out there we're going to be working on. I'm definitely going to have a dog out there this year, have him out there working him some of that stuff. Because I didn't do that last year because I didn't have water on that field prior to season. But I'm going to this year.
It's all stuff that makes sense when you stop and think about it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So my partners here, I'm going to let them ask you a couple questions and pick your brain a little bit.
All right.
I'll turn you over to these guys. They're
right.
You got to watch out for them.
I hear you.
And I'm going to show my age a little bit when I say this. I grew up in that area of
water dog, gun dog, James Landry. That was the information that was available to me at the time when I was training my first dog.
Bibles. They were Bibles.
They were.
They were the gospel. That's exactly right. We do very little of it, I tell you. And look, that was fantastic stuff. I mean, it's great stuff for the times. But man, the training techniques have changed so much, and mainly it's all stemmed around the e-collar. You know, when you look at the water dog and all that, there wasn't a whole lot of, there wasn't any e-collar stuff in it. And they were not asking the dog to be as nearly as detailed oriented as what they are today, especially on the advanced stuff. I mean, you know, nowadays, force fetch and force to pile and all the steps that we take that make these dogs really good in advanced, those dogs were not done that way. The techniques were completely backwards from what we do today back then. Now, I'm not saying maybe even a little bit later than, you know, the James Free and that kind of thing. There may have been a little bit of that stuff in there. I can't remember, but like the first book I ever used was Retriever Training for the Duck Hunter. There was not an e-collar even mentioned in that entire book. And that was one by Robert Milner. It was a great book. He gave it to me himself. Book number one out of group number one or something like that. Anyway, I got the very first book he ever tried to give or sell, and he gave it to me. It changed my life. I mean, it's crazy. A $20 book changed somebody's life like it did, but it changed my life. And I read that thing like it was the Bible. And today, highly tell people not to train by that because it's just not the way we do things now. It worked out for me and changed my life, but there's so much easier ways to do it now. There's so much great. You know, I did a video series called Duck Dog Basics, and I had 1, 2, and 3, and we did the duck dog, and then we did the hand signals and blinds, and we did the advanced stuff, and we sold tens of thousands of them. It was really good to me. But now there's so many great programs. I got a great friend of mine, Freddie King. He's got a deal he does. He's got 1,000, 1,500 videos on there. He shows all these different dogs.
Every day.
Shows them every day. Yeah, but every day. Let's just say you got a dog. You're like, hey, I'm working on steadying, and he's going to show a dog on there that's doesn't care anything about retrieving. He's going to show a dog in there like Rowdy that just loves more retrieving than anything in life. And he's going to show you how to do all that without. There'll be 50, 75 videos on steadying a dog.
You call that the good, bad, and the ugly, or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, he has really done well with that, and it's a fantastic program. And I can't brag on him and it enough. He's a dear friend of mine, but he's that system. I mean, I tell you, when he started with that thing, and he started doing well, I backed completely out of mine because I was so proud of what he had and believed in what he had. It was so much more important than what I had. I let him have it. And I mean, I'm telling you, I did. I let him have it 100%. You know, and Freddie, I mean, I'd run Freddie's own dogs for him. I've titled all his dogs for him. I do all the hunt test stuff for him. But now he trained them. He did all the training. I just did a little bit of polishing and ran them. But he's a great trainer, and the system he has works. And he's explained very well. So definitely catch up with the times on the way to train.
I do want to say, Mr. Akin, it's such an honor to meet you and be able to talk to you about hunting dogs and all that. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is truly an honor to listen. Recently received a golden lab at KC from Rick and Jeff, and he's a 3-year-old, and he's an amazing retriever, very high energy and all that. I've been working with him ever since I received him, which is late part of last year. And what I'm learning about him, our relationship, he's very special to me. But I noticed that every time I try to work with him, I try to work with him a little bit each and every day, depending on the weather and the heat. What I've been noticing is that he's so eager to get that bumper or ball, whatever the case is. I can't even get my command out before I say fetch. He's already gone. What are some techniques or suggestions for folks that have such a high energy, motivated, working dog that you're trying to scale him back, make him a little more solid, a little more disciplined on the commands?
A big old chain.
I tried a lot of that, but he's so eager to go. He'll just, I got this. Then as he brings it back, he goes past me, and he's like, look what I got. I'm like, I got it, buddy. You did a great job.
All this you're talking about, believe it or not, everybody looks at it as a retrieving skill. And I look at that as a lack of obedience skills. Okay. So let's think about this. Sit means sit until I tell you to do something different. So the deal is we need to teach that dog to sit no matter what the task is, whether we're just telling it to sit and stay and walk away. We're telling it to sit on the seat of the ranger and walk away. We're telling it to sit while we're throwing a retrieve. But here's what I would do if you're using the old method and you're not using the e-collar. I would get what I call a training tab. I'd make me a little short leash about a foot long, 8, 10 inches long, whatever, where you can hang on to it. And I'd lightly put it in my hand where he can't feel me pulling on him. And I would throw the retrieve and I would have me a little light choke chain on him. And if he breaks or goes or moves or even anything, I would snatch that neck and I would say, you sit there. And I would walk out there and I'd pick that bumper up. And I'd walk back over there, sit, and I would throw that bumper again. And if you got somebody that can throw at a distance, even better, because that way you can focus on the dog instead of throwing and that. But not everybody's got that, and that's fine. But believe me, making that dog become patient is the most important thing, because when you're hunting, I mean, we got days where we burn them up, and then we're done in 30 minutes. But we got days we sit out there and don't even see a duck for 30 minutes. And so that dog's got to be just as patient. He's got to be way more patient in a hunt than he ever thought about being in training. So you've got to teach that dog to be super, super patient. And you've got to get these skills down pat. If you can get them 100% in your backyard or on your farm or whatever you want to call it, when you get to the duck blind, you're going to lose 60 to 70% of it, no doubt. So what you've got to do is carry all these skills that you polished up so well at home in the backyard or at the farm or at the church or at the ballpark or wherever you're going to do this at. You got to get, once you get to where you hunt, like we were talking about a minute ago, we're going out to our blind to brush it today. Well, you got to be a whole lot more serious about your obedience. You got to be anal as hell about everything, because that's where that dog has to mind above and beyond. Not, this isn't a play date. This isn't a free for all. You know, this is, by God, you do what I tell you do when I tell you to do it as I tell you to do it, because you want this to be an enjoyable experience. And remember, this is something dog people forget a lot of times. You may be having a great time with this moron you have with you, but your 8 buddies that are with you may not be having any fun because of this moron. So you've got to keep that dog under control, because a dog can just absolutely make a hunt. I mean, man, it can just be the icing on the cake. And especially if you're bringing in youth, man, they're so intrigued by the dog. They could care less about shooting a duck 90% of the time. They watch that dog do what he does. That's all they care about, man. And that just makes them want to be there with you. And Lord knows we need today's youth in this sport. This sport's so crazy. Everybody's got gray in their beard that does it, and then the middle-aged kids, they're some tough customers for us. We need all the youth we can get in this thing and enjoy this thing for what it is, not the killing, but the experiences during the hunt.
Is it a good idea to reward them with treats as they listen to commands, or is that a bad habit?
I don't do that. I would never do that. Do what I tell you to do, and we'll reward you by letting you retrieve.
Yes, sir.
We coach, like you take, I know I'm going to keep going to Rick's dog, but like Nick, I mean, I could offer him a retrieve or a fillet, and he's going for the retrieve.
Wow. I'm going for the fillet.
I would too. Cheeseburger, I got it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, I'm just telling you, the retrieving deal is good enough for them. But now, let me tell you this. The e-collar, if a dog's trained, and I don't know your dog, so I don't want to tell you exactly how to do this with the dog, but if your dog's trained on the e-collar is the best thing that ever happened in the dog.
Yes.
The e-collar is no energy, no effort from the handler. It is some timing, no doubt about timing, but you can make everything happen. You can change the variable of the correction on the fly. Back when I first started, you put a plug in there and you could either work your dog with it or jumpstart your truck. Now the thing is so variable, you can go so light you can't even tell it's touching the dog to it's ready to jump your truck. You know what I mean? So
yes, sir.
The deal is it's incredible, the technology today. I mean, the collars we use, when I first bought my first e-collar, I gave $1,000 for it in 1989. And the one I use today is $320, and it's 10 times better than that one at $1,000. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's amazing what you do. But the e-collar is a great tool, and if your dog's trained on it, which is not hard to do. It can just really help you in your training, but you've got to keep your standard up. Your standard is a deal. Your standard at home, you can't have a different standard in a duck blind you do at home. You got to have the same standard, and you got to carry that standard with you to the duck blind.
So, Scott, welcome into the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. And Chris, nice to see you.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
It's been a minute or two.
I was trying. We were in Illinois. I can't remember where at.
Chris, that was 16 years ago down at the hunt club for my youth hunt. 16 years ago, the very first one.
That was good deal.
Yeah, John Mabry and Danny Cox and Hunter and Tim Grounds was there, and
sure was. Yeah.
Yeah, but before that, it was what, 1985 at Wren Lake Hunt Test.
Yeah.
Met my parents
right.
and yeah.
Good
So yeah, it's been a while. And then I come down and did some timber hunting with you a couple times.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, I know each one of us have got, a multitude of special stories, but I'd sure like to hear one from everybody. Just a quick story about their dog or a dog you had that was phenomenal or some situation. And, start with Jeff. If you want to start.
You know what? I'm going to go with one of my, probably the first dog that I actually trained myself was right after I got out of the service, and some people I knew, they gave me pick of the litter. And I had my mind set on a chocolate, and when I got there, there was one black that was about twice the size of the rest of the puppies, and I just knew it was that one. And that dog probably, 3,000 birds out of one dog. I think that's a reasonable number. Hunting down there at Charlie's old place, there were 20 blinds on about 500 acres.
What was the name of that place?
Fort Charters.
I've never been there.
So you can imagine with that many blinds, how many crippled birds. The whole place was grown up in smartweed.
Wow.
I could have sent that dog all day, every day, and never fired a shot. And honestly, I worked with that dog a lot in the brush. I would always I had a weedy patch by a lake, and we would end that training session. I'd throw that bumper in the brush a couple times and make that dog work through there and find it. And that really, really paid off.
Yeah.
Down there.
That was a guy. I remember that dog. That was a big dog. That was a big lab.
That was a big lab.
How about you, Scott?
Well, I've always been a Chesapeake guy, and Chris knows my dad was always a Chesapeake guy. And, training a Chesapeake, they always say a chain link fence and a 2x4 is what you need. And so, but we've had, out of all the Chesapeakes that between me and my father owned, we had one that really keeps the mind and always sticks in my brain. And that was back in the late 70s, I guess, up at Carlisle Lake. The lake was froze. We had to open up a hole, shot a few canvasbacks. And that Chesapeake went under the ice to get that canvasback. I think I was probably 8 years old. I was in a state of panic. My dad goes, well, I think we might have lost that dog. and lo and behold, here she came up with that canvasback right up through the ice.
Like a submarine.
Yeah. And she got in the boat. She was as white as this piece of paper on this counter from ice building up on her coat. And got her back to the boat ramp. She was full of ice. We needed to get her in the truck, warm up, and she went right back in that water. For me, the Chesapeake's always been the most loyal dog, and I know everybody's a lab guy, and I also have a lab guy, and I got a Chesapeake at home too, but Chesapeake's to me has always been the toughest of them all, in my mind. But yeah, that's one of my best stories that sticks out is that dog. Brandy was her name, and she stuck. That's the best dog I can ever remember that we've had. And they were all good dogs by no means. And, Chris, on the segment prior to that, we came down and hunted with you one time there in the timber when you were still getting going, and we were hunting the public ground out of boats, and you were talking about the corn and training dogs, while you're out there in the corn and handling them. It's a different concept. But we brought a pretty good dog down, and we got in that timber, and that dog didn't know where the heck it was, which is another thing of, if you're going to bring a dog down and you want to hunt the timber, that's something you want to practice too.
Hey, you're good at what you practice. And the dogs that hunt the timber every day are phenomenal at it. The dogs hunting rice fields every day are phenomenal at it. dogs hunting flooded corner phenomenal. It's just what they get used to. You know what I mean? It's definitely on the job training to some point. We just have to do the best we can to get them off on the right track and get going. So I'm curious about your Chesapeakes. Did y'all catch most of those in a leg trap or a cage trap?
Some of both.
At least it wasn't a chocolate. At least it wasn't a chocolate.
I call them exotics. You know, these people around here now, the Boykins, the German wire hairs, the Chesapeakes. I'm a golden retriever guy, big time. I love my Goldens. I've got the best line of Goldens in the country. I'm not even trying to say I'm bragging. I'm telling you that's for a fact. We've got the best line of Goldens, and so if I get a little bit of the exotic deal, and I can catch a little crap about them. So everybody's got their thing, but the lab is definitely the easiest for us overall to train.
Yes.
You know, and the Chesapeakes are, you know, there's some guys like Ford, some guys like Chevrolet, some guys like Toyota. There's a place for all of us out there.
But you know, Chris, you said earlier in the show, breeding and all that, and the genetics plays a big part. Chesapeakes over the 30, 40, even more years than that, the breeding and the genetics of a Chesapeake and the breeders that are making them even better.
So much better. So
yes.
I mean, look, I'm an anti-chocolate dog guy. I make no bones about that. I don't hide from it. I despise chocolates, and they're even better. I'm man enough to admit it. But, you know, when I first started training dogs, the chocolates were everywhere, and they were just breeding chocolates to have chocolates, and it killed the breed. And
yes.
Now they've done their part, just like Chesapeake people have, just like the Golden people have. All of it's better. It's just the knowledge that we all have through the power of the internet, Facebook, Instagram. Everybody understands it, and everybody knows it, and they, you know, everybody can talk about the good and talk about the bad, and we can make things better. That's what we've done. So I had to give you a little crap about Chesapeake, but a good dog's a good dog. You know what?
It took my dad passing away in 18 for my mom to get a Boykin. So she now has a Boykin. And
she had her a Boykin all them years, aggravating sucker he was.
That's true.
She was trying to replace him, I tell you.
That's true.
Sitting stocky with attitude, you know. Yeah, no,
Well,
there's some pretty good Boykins around too. I saw a good one this weekend. I watched one run. Got a dear friend of mine's got one that I just love to watch run. And the guy from South Carolina, Rhett Riddle, he's got a dog named Ranger. And man, every time he comes out, it's all eyes on him. I love to watch that dog run. But they're, you know, they're a lot better with the breeding on them too.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I got a story, and I never shared this one with Chris, but this dog Rowdy that he sold me, he was a diesel powerhouse, the kind of dog that could pull a house down literally. So I took him up to Chicago, do some big Canada goose hunting for a weekend, and we went to a hunt club. The morning we went out, it was super dark, but it was foggy where you couldn't even see in front of you, you know. But we knew where to go from our phone, so we set up out in this field with these laydowns. I had Rowdy with me, and I had 5 people with me with laydowns, and we set our Bigfoot spread up, and I had a dog blind, little Avery dog blind next to me, and I thought, you know, I don't feel real comfortable with having these 5 people that I've never hunted with before and Rowdy with me, so I'm going to drive one of them big fucking augers down in the ground, you know, them big long ones like you know, the big giant ones.
Like a trailer anchor?
Yeah, like a trailer, almost. I twisted down in the ground, and I cut a little hole in the bottom of the Avery dog hide, and I clipped him in there so he couldn't go very far. He was in the dog hide. If he broke, he wasn't going to go very far. So we had a flock of Canadas come in. I don't know. I don't even know what time. It was so foggy you couldn't see anything. The geese came in out of the fog and just appeared out of nowhere and started to light on the ground. And before I could even call the shot, Rowdy had ripped that auger clean out of the ground with the dog hide and everything, hauling ass, and got one of those geese as it was lighting on the ground, grabbed that son of a bitch and turned around and came back with me. Before I even had a chance to say anything, he was standing there with a goose in front of me, a live goose. I'm like, don't shoot anybody, don't shoot. So the guy that owns the hunt club, he says, I thought you chained him down. I said, I did, look. And on the back of him, he was dragging that big auger with a leash on the back of him. Wouldn't call him Rowdy. Diesel.
That dog had issues. I mean, that dude, he really did. He was something. And we did everything we could to calm him down and to try to get him a chill, but he just didn't have it in him. He loved it. He loved every minute of it.
Yes, he did.
He did. Well, that brings up a great point. I don't know how much time we got, but I want to talk about something real quick.
Yeah, sure. We got all time.
Dog's first hunt. I want to talk about that. I always get on the soapbox with that. But, you know, you talk about that auger deal. man, the dog's first hunt, we've got to make sure these dogs are steady to shot, and we've got to make sure that the dog has a great shot at learning his new trade, okay, his new job and skill. Don't take that dog out there with 8 or 10 of your closest friends. It needs to be 1 or 2 guys, maybe 3 at the most, with you just handling the dog and them doing the shoot. Let them shoot, let you concentrate on the dog, and you make sure that dog doesn't get the break. Whether you got to tie it to the tree, auger it to the ground, leash it to yourself, the pit, whatever you got. Make sure that dog doesn't break. And then once that you shoot the birds, you cut the dog loose, let him get the bird. You make sure you're getting him back to you, knows where he's going, knows how to go. Those are the main thing. People just think, hey, I've spent all this money on this dog. And Rick, we're gonna have this same discussion we send Nick home. Man, you got to take the right steps to make this dog to get off to a successful start in his new career. Make sure that whatever blind you're hunting, it doesn't have anything sharp, doesn't have anything dangerous around it, nails, screws, rusty chains, cable, anything, all the stuff that we all have experienced dogs being hurt by. You've got to look around and be spatial aware of what's going on around you. Screws and nails and all that kind of stuff, these blinds, man, they can destroy a dog's career. And we got to make sure all that stuff's good to go. Over the years, summer, beavers chewing on stuff. We have to really look for all that kind of stuff because they can really take a dog out. So just be careful with all that. And man, and just get that dog off the right start, and it'll be a blast for everybody.
Yeah, we got to watch for beavers around our place because they leave those spears in the water that you can't see where they chew the tree up.
And they chew on our blinds. They eat our dog ramps. They're a horror. We got a heck of a problem with them where we're at, and they migrate in. We're right on the Cache River, and you get rid of 100 of them. Here comes another 100. They're just awful.
I know you got a story in you about them.
I got a million dog stories I love, but as I think back through all my dogs, I mean, I've had some really great hunting dogs, and dogs that's picked up a lot of birds. High volume dogs we've been so blessed to stand beside and get to hunt with, and I could tell you about all those great. But I guess one of the stories I love the most is back when I hunted public ground, early 80s. I was hunting. I had a 1436 Duracraft John boat with a 69 model 9.8 Mercury, and we hunted public ground. You had to get in there at midnight and get the hole. And I would get in there and get the hole, and I'd put my decoys out, and I would go to sleep in the boat. I'd be by myself, and all my buddies would come at daylight. But I'd go get the hole, set the hole up, set the dog stands up, and they all came in at daylight, and we would hunt. And this dang dog I had named Dixie, she would sit there from the time we got set up in that boat to go to sleep, and her tail would hit that damn 1436 John boat just like that right there. And she was so excited to be in a duck hole that no way you could sleep. And she would do that until we left. I mean, I'm talking about from midnight until 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. We got our limit and left. Her tail was hitting the side of that damn boat. And to this day, I've always admired any dog that loves the game as much as that, just to be so optimistic and love being there and love everything about what we're there to do. That their tail, I mean, nothing tells the tail like a tail, right? And that tail just wagging and hitting that boat and just loving the game. And man, I loved her. She picked up hundreds of ducks. She didn't pick up near as many ducks as other dogs I've had, but she loved it as much as any dog I've ever had. And she was an ugly little dog. She had a nose that was real pointed. She was the dog that could eat the last Pringle out of a Pringles can. Little bitty dog. She wasn't even taller than a 5-gallon bucket and had a big white stripe up the middle like an Oreo. I mean, this was one ill-bred son of a gun, but man, I loved her. She loved me, and she loved duck hunt. So we back then we were snow goose hunting. She hated snow geese too. So we had a ball together. But she loved it. Like I say, I got I think all my great hunting dogs, Bandy and Boomer and Finn. I mean, I've had some great dogs, man. Stormy and just Webb. I've just had a bunch of great hunting dogs. Because I'm old, so I've had a bunch of good ones and been blessed to be hunt with a lot of good ones and friends of mine that is my hunting buddies, Willie and Reddy and Nikki and just all those great dogs that bring back great memories. But man, they love it as much as we do. That's why we love them.
Chris, Boomer's kind of the one that put you on the map, wasn't he?
You know, he was. We were doing pretty good in business. You know, we had all the gun dog business we wanted, but when we in 2003, Boomer won a Super Retriever Series, and he turned around and won the Great Outdoor Games, and that opened up a whole other can of worms. You know, Boomer's timing was really good for me. The places I was hunting and the amount of people I was hunting at the time. My average party in the timber at that time was in the high teens. So we were hunting 15 to 20 people a day in private timber, and we were killing a lot of birds. And Boomer broke 20,000 birds in his career.
Wow.
And he picked up a ton of birds, and he was really, really good at it too. And he was our bread and butter. He knew how to get it done in a hurry. He was a beast of a dog, super strong. There wasn't nothing he couldn't do. It didn't matter how far, how many, he just got it. So he was a lot of fun. I miss that old dog a lot.
Well, you know, ESPN did an awesome job of videoing all that. You know, when you go back and look at those videos, it's just totally impressive to watch you with those dogs and those other guys.
Well, you know what was amazing about what they did for us is a sport. Nobody knew what a dog could do. The average guy did not have any idea what these dogs were capable of until around 2002, 2003, when the Great Outdoor Games. I mean, they were going at that time. I forget how many 100,000 viewers they had watching that, and it educated people that had never even seen a dog retrieve a duck to what they were actually capable and possible that they could do. And that's when the hunt test game. The Super Retriever Series, a girl named Shannon Nardy's the one that owns that thing. She single-handedly, she had the Great Outdoor Games day, she has now, she single-handedly educated the world to what these dogs are capable of doing. And she single-handedly made the hunt test game explode. I mean, she is to credit 100% for all that. She's the one that did my videos for me. She's a dear friend of mine, but I'll tell you, there's nobody in the retrieval world that's done what she did for the sport. I mean, she deserves a medal. I'm telling you, she's incredible.
Well, I think overall, this particular area with dogs and how we're doing this, you know, it's kind of like you get a following, you know, like I bought a few dogs from people around the country, and I've kind of gotten into a following with you. I feel comfortable whenever we do a dog. I feel comfortable with your crew and your facility and you personally, and it's like rinse, wash, and repeat. You know, we get a dog to 8 or 9 years old, let's get another one started. Most people don't quite understand that. They look at me and they go, man, oh man, oh man, you're investing in them dogs. I said, well, you know, look what you put in your shotgun, look what you put in your truck, look what you put in your boat. I mean, all that adds up to money that, you know, I stick in dog, you know, and I don't flinch, because what you get out of this is high quality, high drive, great pet, great dog, you know, great everything about it's great. And my friends are coming around to understanding it a little bit more each day. Like, wow, okay, I get it now. You start to see the new videos, what you're posting, and they're starting to come around to, okay, we know what you're doing with that dog now. So
you're gonna have a lot of fun with him. Once you get him off a few good hunts, he's gonna have a good time, and then that'll speak for itself to all your buddies. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening. I know you got a busy schedule right now with everything we're doing, and I know that this is a big deal to get you cornered for a little while to do this. And, you know, once again, from 6 Mile Slough Outdoors, all of us here, we can't say thank you enough, and appreciate you coming on tonight, sir.
No problem. Hey, I got to ask you something. What about this gun case right here behind you? Who makes that thing? It looks like a good-looking gun case.
Hella Dry.
I don't know. I'm not aware about that. Tell me about that. Is that a floating gun case?
Yeah.
What is that?
So Hella Dry, they started making backpacks in the wading trout market where you trout fish in the rivers, and they designed this zipper and the rubber material so that it's truly like one of the only gun cases that's truly waterproof, because it seals up so tight that it holds air inside of it with the zipper, and it literally will hold air when you put your gun in it, like it's puffed out like a balloon. That'll tell you it's totally waterproof. When you chuck it in the water, you don't have any water issues like all the other gun cases. Like, you know, you get them roll top ones they say are waterproof. Well, you and I both know that might be or might not be depending on where you dropped it in the water. This one's really solid when it comes to this, and they make a backpack and everything else that goes with that.
I've never heard of that. That's slick. I've been admiring it the whole time. I've been checking that out. I've never seen it like that.
They're pretty incredible. I bet that one up there right there could make itself right to UPS in the next couple of days.
I like it. I like it. I'm gonna check them out. I'm gonna fix to Google them up here in just a second.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool gun case. Nobody's really seen many of them around here, but when you look at them, you're like, okay, I understand. And Jeff pointed out a pretty good point to that gun case. All the other ones that roll top, you know how they roll top. You shove your gun down in there after a rainy day of hunting. You come back to the hunt club, you pull your gun out, and you clean your gun, right? But your gun case is still soaking wet down inside that thing.
No doubt, no doubt.
And you got to figure out how to get down in there and clean it out. This one has a full zipper that literally lays it open. So you just take a towel and dry the inside out and close it back up. So
yeah, that's slick. What does that retail for, you know?
You know what? I think that one is let me see here. Jeff, what's in that right there?
$199.
$199.
I had 300 on my mind. I didn't know. That's cheap.
That's $300.
yeah, that's right. That's right. $299.99. No, that's cheap. I was real curious. You know, it's amazing the guns that we like. When I grew up, everybody shot 870, and I guess we all had 200, 300 bucks in that. And now I think the average gun that we all shoot is probably 1,500 to 2,000, and it's just amazing that everybody trying to look for a 1999 gun case to put their $2,000 gun.
Oh, I'm blown away by it. I'm like, your insurance policy's that $25 gun case? I said, I tell everybody, I said, I guarantee you, I'm going to drop your gun, or it's going to fall off the Ranger, or it's going to fall out of the blind, and your insurance policy is going to be not worth the $25 you paid.
That's right. I shoot a side by side most of the time, and we shoot all sub gauge stuff and a lot of side by sides. We got to kind of go on that kick. We've had a lot of fun with that, but we take care of our guns. We like some decent guns, so. That gun case is definitely going to make the list this year for sure. I like that.
Yeah, it's a hell of a gun case.
Not breaking ice with the new guns?
No, we don't do any of that. We don't do any of that. That's for sure.
Well, at 870, you can paddle the boat, break the ice.
We got we're kind of like Rowdy was about retrieving. We're that way about guns. We like our guns. That's for sure. We enjoy playing with different guns, and we enjoy the sub gauge stuff. And we don't allow any 12 gauges on my place, but we shoot a lot of 410s, a lot of 28s. We'll have a 16 day every now and then. We like those, but the side by side deal really is taking off, and everybody's shooting those, and those aren't all cheap, so they need some good gun cases for those. And the ones we've got are not bad, but they're not that. Yeah. We run out of boats every day.
Yep.
If anything ever happened, a floating gun case would be really nice, because I don't think we have one floating gun case in our club.
They say they float, but I've not seen one that actually really does float. I mean, it might go underwater a foot, you might be able to grab it, but those things literally float. So
there would be hopefully we never need anything like that, but heaven forbid if we did, it would be a bad deal to lose. Because we hunt 4 or 5 guys about every day. That'd be a lot of money down the tubes if we didn't have floating gun cases. I'm fixing to check it out. I'm fixing to Google them up. I appreciate you letting me know. Hey guys, enjoyed seeing you. Scott, been a while. Enjoyed seeing you. Rick,
great seeing you, Chris.
You bet. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you, sir.
Take care now. See you. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
2003, and of course our Sport Dog Team of the Year. That's how they qualified for this year's championship. You get that short right first. He's going by it. He's actually going to drive by that boat and go for the long right-hand side of the flower pot. If this works out, this could be the way to run it.
Mama needs new shoes.
That's the one.
Your mama buys shoes when she wants to. Don't kid yourself, bud. You just don't look.
Mama needs to eat.
You need to go look in the closet.
Well, Daddy needs money.
I'm pretty sure he spent plenty of time in there, Rick.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought about that. You'd gag on it.